Hey folks, it's not often that I get contacted with code for an upcoming release, and so I was a little surprised when last week out of the blue in my inbox was the code for this game, Donut Dodo, which, well, specifically its Switch release. It's been out for a while on Steam and elsewhere, but the devs sent me the code, and thank you very much for that, and I thought I'd sit down and do a quick video on it, just to get something out, because I'm sort of a bit hectic with real life stuff coming up to the end of the year with my day job. And so yeah, we're going to do that. Take a quick look at Donut Dodo and see what you think. You play Baker Billy Burns, who is tasked with collecting all the donuts on each of the stages. There's 5 all up, and they're sort of organised in this easy, medium, medium hard, and then there's sort of a speed rush mode. Unfortunately, you can't pick what difficulty you want from the outset. You've got to unlock it, which is a bit of a pain. And admittedly, it's quite challenging, even on the easy, medium mode. But you collect the donuts. There's a bit of a bomb jack thing going on here, which I really love. Basically, you collect the first donut on a stage, and then all the others will start highlighting in a random sequence. It's not consistent like it is in Bomb Jack, so you can't sort of game it to speedrun it. But it's still interesting. You got to do it, because if you do, you earn some really big combos. Basically, every one you collect adds up, and it adds up fast. And if you're really good at sort of being able to survive the stages and do it quickly, you can almost get enough to earn an extra life quickly. Now, I can do it consistently on the first stage, not quite extra life territory, but pretty decent. It's just on the following stages, the way they're structured is a little tougher. And with those stages, what I really love is it's got the Donkey Kong thing going on. There's 5 screens that you'll see. I could just make it to the 5th with a bunch of play, at least in this playtime that I got the chance to record. But each of them is still got the same thing. You are doing the same thing, collecting all the donuts, doing it as fast as possible, and trying to get as many bonus points as you can. But each of them has a different gimmick, I guess you'd say, in how you actually approach doing that. The first stage has pretty simple, small gaps that you need to jump. The second has a much wider area where you're really sort of going through side to side of the screen. You've got the wraparound kind of trick that you've got in a lot of other early arcade games. The third introduces this really cool Ferris wheel where you've sort of got a time when you jump on and then off the wheel in order to reach different parts of the map. The 4th stage has a lot more sort of holes, almost sort of veering into Donkey Kong Jr. territory at this point, as you sort of move around the stage trying to collect everything. And the final stage, well, it introduces doorways that sort of link 2 parts of the stage up. All in all, there's a very frantic level design here, and it really gets amplified. Like I said, it's still quite a bit of a challenge, even on its easy medium mode. And I'm sure if you get onto the medium hard mode, it's going to get much harder. So, like I said, I only got to that medium. I got to the 5th screen once, in at least this footage I recorded, and I've seen it maybe once or twice more in other occasions. It's got that arcade thing where, honestly, you play for like 20 or 30 minutes, you sort of get to that point where it's like, yeah, you're done, put it down for a moment, come back. So I appreciate that. It's a very much a vibe of the early 80s. I think there's a lot of Donkey Kong comparisons here with the screens, the Dodo itself being this sort of large looming presence, and it does interact with you by firing fireballs at you and stuff. But there's also a bunch of other games of that era in there, like looking at the high scores, they name drop Pac-Man and Dig Dug and more, so you know where they're sort of going from. And visually, I really love the style. It's not quite as slavishly devoted to those eras of games as you might expect. So, it's not doing something like, say, Shovel Knight was shamelessly sticking to the limitations of the NES. But at the same time, it does the thing where it's doing what with the nostalgia goggles, right? It's what you thought those games looked like, less what those games actually looked like. The same can be said for the soundtrack. Honestly, it's really good. It's a really good soundtrack. It's very, very fast-paced, very frantic, and it really it suits the game so incredibly well. I feel it fits the game. It fits the game well. It's great to listen to while you're playing, and the sounds themselves, the effects, definitely channel that early era of games well. So as a package, it's not a massively in-depth game. I think you're not going to sit down and spend lots of time with it. You're going to come back, play it every so often, try to beat your best score, which thankfully does save, and there are separate score tables for each of the 3 modes, which I really appreciate. But it's a game that it controls well. Admittedly, playing here on the Switch, I was playing both handheld and docked, and so the footage is obviously docked using a Pro Controller. It worked pretty well there. I was disappointed about one thing. I tried to hook my arcade stick up, Hori's little mini stick. I forgot what it is, it's not near me at the moment. And it sort of bumped out and timed out a lot. It was sort of interrupting me doing the pairing UI, so I had to not use it, which was really annoying. I feel like that would have been the perfect way to play it with an arcade stick. It just channels that so well. You don't really need more than 4-way movement, and good responsive switches would mean good responsive inputs. Even with the Pro Controller, it still felt plenty responsive, and plenty of cases where it's like, oops, you died, it's your fault, not the game's. And that's really a good sign of what makes a classic. Just works so well. This one is very quick. I'm not really going to go into massive details here. This isn't a numbered episode of the show, but I just want to sort of do a little bit on it and just say, yeah, it's worth checking out. Looking at the price on Steam, it's like $7 Australian. I presume it's probably going to be $10 Australian on the eShop. I can't confirm. Again, I got the code early, so also I really appreciate that I didn't have to do any messing around. They just sent me everything in the mail, an Australian eShop code, which is very, very appreciated. And yeah, it was an incredibly nice process. Lovely people, and it's a fun game that I think you should check out. It's got that arcade thing down pat, and I think, modern games that crib lessons from the past and make something distinctive and fun and challenging and really engaging, definitely a good thing in my book. So I'm just going to leave it there. This is something different. I don't know if we'll do this more. Again, your feedback is really what I sort of use to plan for stuff on the channel. I'll be back in a few weeks with the final Scanlines for the year, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you all so much for your support as always, and thank you all very much for watching.